Hands
his ankle there,
from
nice
big left
kick.
Here comes Jordan,
Jordan come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, it's your boy. That's right, your boy back back today for this glorious Sydney weekend of just pissing down rain and nothing drying. Everything's so humid at the moment. It's just the worst weather, especially if you train a lot like me. You got lots of shorts and gis that kind of wet and they never get dry. They just stink, like absolutely like stink with dampness. So it's just me today. Co-host Hugh at the moment is moving house. Like I said, it's raining today, so. Chalk D to him. Best luck. Hope he's going all right. Quick little recap. So last night on one championship, Martin's fought on one championship against Samilia. Deandra, like she's such a warrior. Like I was like so proud of her heart and really incredible spirit to kind of carry through the fight. It was a tall order. Once you saw the fight happening from there, Samilia's just an animal. She's powerful, relentless, and for a 17-year-old, oh my god, she's so scary. but I know she's going to Miss Martins is going to come back stronger from that experience. Also, as well, we have previous guests of the podcast, Yolanda Schmidt, the Springbok, fighting for a WMC world title this weekend in Dubai. So shout out to Andrew Parnham, Singh, and the PTJ team. Okay. The fight, by the time this podcast come out, the fight would already happen. So best of luck to them. It's like we're always going to root for the team PTJ. All right. So it's not just myself today. So lucky for you, you don't have to hear me just ramble. I do have a guest on the line. Okay. Let me introduce him. Okay. So he's fought in such organizations as Glory, Cooling Fights, Top King, Evolution. Not all opponents. Very short list I got here. It's bigger, but I just can't write all the names down. But yeah, he's fought people such as Jordan Ty, Bruce McPhee, Wes Kappa, Jabba Askarov, Andy Sauer, Brad Riddell, Bockow, Robin Van Ruslan, Aprichat, just to name a few. Okay, now he runs the training room in Geelong. He is Stone Cold Steve Moxon. How are you today, sir?
Intro. Thanks, man. And thanks for getting my fight name correct. Stone Cold Steve Moxon. I often get Steve Stone Cold. It's like, did anybody watch wrestling in the early thousands?
Exactly. That's where I know it from. That's the only way to say it.
Boston.
Awesome. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. And I'm in sunny regional Victoria. And
Lucky.
Very sunny. So, loving it.
Nice. So first time on the podcast. So when we always get someone on the podcast, let's learn a bit of backstory. Like starting from how did you get into the martial arts scenes? And then from there, we'll just go we'll go into your fight career, which is it's a big thing.
Easy, man. Yeah. So look, I started another small regional town in the back of a tire factory. There was a shed in the back of there. Was a kickboxing gym, I guess. It was just like a tarp on the floor. There was carpet. There was 2 boxing bags or maybe 3 bags. No tie pads. It was just low kick shields and hand mitts. That's all there was. And I just started training. And there's a couple of guys in the gym that had a few fights. And I just kept getting beat up every night. And I'm like, I'm loving this. Want to keep sparring, getting beat up. I started losing weight. I'm like, I'm getting better. And then 8 months later, I had my first fight. But just before I really got into training, I joined the Army Reserves. I went away training for a few months. So I lost a whole bunch more weight. And then I would come back with a new perspective on life, a new perspective on what hard work really is. And then, I come back and just started training and sparring really hard. And then I fought. So I had my first fight after 8 months of training. And I only learned kickboxing. So I then started doing kickboxing. And off I went. And I had many fights. Every year I racked them up.
Yeah. It's like, so many fights, like looking on your Wikipedia page. It was like you started like a little bit later on in life than say people start in a younger age?
I didn't know martial arts at a younger age. I started when I was 18. So it would have been 2 weeks before I got my license. There was a friend who used to train there and said, why don't you come and check it out? And she'll drive past my house and pick me up. Then a few weeks later, I got my license. So I was borrowing mum's little Honda XL, driving up the highway. And then I trained every night. So that's how it started. So when I was 18, I started. And then 8 months later, I had my very first fight.
Okay. So just going off your Wikipedia page, I saw one of the first fights you had was Jordan Ty. So you're saying that was the very first fight, or was it like an amateur kind of scene before that?
there was no such thing as amateur when I started.
Hmm.
So my very first fight was against this big Turkish guy, big lats and big and strong muscle. And I looked across the ring. I thought, shit, what am I doing? Like my mum was there ringside. And I thought, what am I doing? And then I fought, and I realized that I used to spar really hard. There's a couple of really hard sparring opponents in the gym, and I thought, hang on, I can hold my own with these guys. The best advice I ever got after the first round, we both held our breath and just bashed each other, and we'll both gas. I get it, and that's why I love to have that experience. So I can pass it on to other fighters. It's just to breathe. It was the best advice I got was just to breathe. And second round, I beat him by TKO just with like combination fighting, just keeping on him, and I was just breathing.
Hmm.
My second fight was on Foxtel, and me and my opponent agreed not to wear shin guards. And so I only ever wore shin guards for one fight ever. After that, it was no shin guards, and then I kept fighting, and I went 16 fights undefeated.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That is going back in the day as well. The gentleman's agreement, not the way like the neck greens or anything.
Yeah.
but like some of your early opponents, I saw like someone like Taz Taziz, like maybe not many people know him like outside of the Melbourne scene, but that dude was an animal fight.
Yeah. So I always say, like me and like a lot of the guys like Taz and a few other Melbourne fighters, we were the world champions of the Western suburbs. You know what I mean? So anybody out of Melbourne or out of Victoria, I didn't even know who we were. But and back then, I'm not sure if you're aware of. Do you ever remember the kickboxer forums online?
Yes, very early days.
Blitz, like Dasmond and Mark Hammer, guys like that were running this chat forum. And there was a guy within my gym who was a bit of like a bit of a loudmouth, I guess. But he, to his credit, he mentioned my name in every single forum post he put up. Put my name down, kept saying Steve Moxon will be the champ. Steve's the best. So people started to know me, but again, only in the western suburbs in Melbourne.
Ah, nice. If you hear that, that's rain. That's pissing down.
Oh, is it really?
That's all right. So hopefully I can like take that sound out. Okay, so so going off from there. No, I'm doing this. So I told you. That's all right. So yeah, you went 16 fights undefeated from there. When did you feel there was the springboard that like really kind of propelled you into like the bigger leagues outside of the state?
So when I fought Taz, I would have had about 10 fights. I fought Taz in the old 7-round kickboxing fight. And I beat him up as well. It was a great little battle. And that made me the best in Melbourne, whatever. And then my fight after that, I think I defended a South Pacific title. And I fought this guy from New South Wales, and he was meant to be one of the best guys I got around. And I beat him. I beat him with just pure like combination fighting and skills, where they thought I was a puncher, and I knew he had a boxing background, so I just kicked the hell out of his legs. I just thought, well, that's how I'm going to beat him. I'm just going to do what he doesn't expect me to do. And then what happened after that fight, exact fight, so I think it was like my 12th fight. I had a little bit falling out with my original coach. These things happen, but I was a young guy, and I thought, okay, this is my crossroads. Do I just be happy with the fights I've had, or do I take this shit to the next level? And just through a little t-shirt spot I had from Queensland, there's Low Jack Fightwear. He said, oh, well, here's the number of Peter Graham, a heavyweight world champ, fought in the K1 and everything. I've got his number. Get on to him, and he might be able to tell you where to train and whatever. I got on to Peter Graham, and within a couple of weeks, so I flew up to Sydney, and I stayed in his roof attic for about 3 weeks and trained, and he was so impressed. And he said, if you move to Sydney, we'll look after you and get you some big fights and put you, on the map. So I loaded my little sports car up that I had with everything I owned in the back, and drove all the way to Sydney. And I lived about 90 minutes away from the gym. And I used to catch a train in every day and train.
Wow, that's crazy. And I guess you made that decision in your life there, like, or maybe a little bit beforehand, but like, this is what I am. I'm a professional fighter, like nothing else.
Absolutely. So I was like, not sacrificing as such, but I was still working full time before I moved to Sydney. I was a cabinet maker by trade. So I done all that. I was working full time, finishing work, flying to training, and then I was fighting. And then I remember something happened when I was like, I would have been like 19, I think. So I was a few years into my apprenticeship. I actually chopped the top of my finger off on a wood planer.
Oh,
Took my
jeez.
finger off. I flipped off the wood and the blade went bang and took my finger off. And I fought 8 weeks later. I like bent it, and this is where I realized how tough I was and how much I wanted to be a fighter. I didn't pull out. I didn't complain. I trained. Got a hand wrap and wrapped my arm on my chest. I trained with my left hand, practiced kicks, and then I fought 8 weeks later. I bent a little bit of like aluminium over my hand, taped it on, jammed it in the glove, and off I went. And I won. So when I went to Sydney, not long after that, and then they kept flying me back to Melbourne every like 4 to 5 weeks because that's where my crowd was. They knew that I didn't even have to sell tickets, but if I was on the poster, a lot of people came. I'm from Balam, which is a small country town of a few thousand people. They would all come to the show, drive up the road to Melbourne and come to the show. So the promoters loved it. And then the one fight that I think put me on the world map, not so much Jordan Ty, because I fought Jordan Ty twice. I would say Bruce McPhee on the Evolution show because I fought in Brisbane. I fought in Brisbane on his home show. We fought, I think, on modified Thai rules back then, as like, saying, well, no elbows, but we can grapple.
Yeah.
Bashed him anyway. I knocked him out in the third. And I just thought, well, he can't grapple me if I'm punching him. So I just kept trying to punch and kick him, It doesn't become a Muay Thai fight unless you let it be a Muay Thai fight. I didn't allow it to be a Muay Thai fight. Because why do I want to get picked off by a guy that's more skilled and longer than I am? So I just turned it into my fight. And I think that's what put me on the map, especially in Australia, where people started realizing because I was just different. So I still remember that on Evolution, they said it's like rebellion. Everyone must wear the shorts that the show gives you, the Evolution shorts that I've still got up in my cupboard. Everyone must wear their shorts. But then when I came along, I used to wear like a gladiator skirt. They said, Steve, you can wear your skirt, and Preacher, you can wear your pink shorts. So we were the only fight on the show that were allowed to wear our own shorts. And they loved the fact that it was so exciting, this kickboxer versus Thai fighter. And we met halfway. And so that was a huge one for me. And that was just after he fought on what's that fight show that he was on? Contender Asia. Just after he was on Contender Asia. So that's what I believed helped me put me on the map, especially in the country, and then slightly outside of there. What put me in the eyes of the big promoters is when I was 16 fights undefeated. So this is where we're going to, if you have a question about it, I do remember someone asking, tell me about the Infusion Fight Series. So that was in 2010. That was a reality TV show like Contender or like The Ultimate Fighter, where they've lived together and fight against each other and all that. I was 16 fights undefeated, traveled to Thailand just before the show was recorded. And I trained and I met the manager, and that's what led me into learning stuff outside of our country. And that was the first time I traveled on an airplane overseas. Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been a crazy experience. It's going over there.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
Was it like heaps of cameras in your face? Like, was it hard to train, anything like that? Or
it was strange. It made me realize what how things and how TV and how things can be sort of like edited in a certain way, or things can just be put together how they want it to look. So there's like, I don't know, 16 or 18 fighters, whatever. But there's the likes of Gargo Drago, who was a 2-time K1 winner. Giorgio Petrosian's brother, Armin Petrosian. There's Kas, who had over 100 fights from Turkey. All these top kickboxers, because it was a kickboxing, it was a Dutch production. Dutch people were recording it.
Okay.
And but it was at Super Pro Gym in Samui, Koh Samui, which is owned by Dutch people as well. So before the show, I got my money together and went over there for 6 weeks. And I met one of my future opponents, Reese McAllister. I spent 6 weeks with him. So he's the one that showed me around, because he was there for about 3 or 4 months. And he showed me around. And I met Robbie Timmers, who was the gym manager, who is still in
Mhm.
Coach Mary, and he's the person that got me. So just through me traveling and networking with people, which is a huge thing that most fighters need to learn, he's the one that got me my Glory contract. He's the one that got me the fight against Walkout. He's the one that called me up about other matchups that I've had. So meeting one person can change your life in the future. And we're talking 5 years later, or 3 years later, or 4 years later, whatever it be. And that's why that networking was so important.
Ah, definitely. So you know, that's the most important part.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, networking. It's a big part of
Yeah.
it. So yeah, from going from there now, like you talked before, being able to go into glory in fighting, and that's quite an experience itself. And you go from contacts from there, but obviously from having such a great resume as well. But yeah, tell us about the road leading up to glory, the whole experience of it all at the end as well, and how do you feel like it panned out?
Yeah. I would say signing into Glory was almost like the middle to the second half of my career, which I don't think was the best parts of my career. I
Mm.
get that, and that's on me and stuff that I've not been prepared for or taken certain things for granted. But before Glory, I was fighting in China lots,
Mm.
so I met a lot of people there, and I understood how to get visas. I understood how to email people and doing those sorts of things, which helped me a lot. Right before I had my first fight on Glory, I moved from Sydney back to regional Victoria
Yeah.
because my then wife at the time was, or I think at the wife, maybe she was just a girlfriend at that time still. But that was when we thought we'd move to a cheaper life and where we are, you know. So yeah, we moved from Sydney back to regional Victoria, and the one person that's stuck with me through thick and thin from Victoria's Dave Ashmore from Barbarian Muay Thai. This
Nice.
guy's passion for Muay Thai, this guy's passion for the fight scene. So I've called him up when I was in Sydney and said, "Hey, I'm moving back to Ballarat." And he knew me from way back when I was in Melbourne, and back when he's the one who cornered me for my last fight in Melbourne, which was against Taz. He's the one that cornered me actually, and that was the first time I met him. Was 8 weeks before that fight. So I said, "I'm moving back. By the way, I'm signed to Glory. You want to travel the world with me?"
It's
He
like,
was
oh, we've got some work to do.
yeah, it was really cool. So Dave has stuck with me, and a matter of fact, I spoke to him just yesterday, and we live in different towns. We're just super close, and he's the one guy that stuck with me through thick and thin, and helped me along the way, and didn't judge me along the way, or just he was just happy to be by my side and support me in any way I needed. So I'm really thankful to Dave Ashmore, um, because my life, as we'll talk about later, my second half of my career went a little bit crazy in my personal life, and I could have let it go crazy, but I didn't, and he stuck with me and
Mhm.
kept me on track as well.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, yeah, man, that's awesome. So, going still on the Glory vibe as well. Every time you were on Glory, there was never a gimme fight. There's always
Yeah,
top opponents and that. And how was it going into those
for
type of
sure.
fight camps
Yeah,
and
for sure.
experiences?
So I actually, and this is a great thing. I got paid pretty good money, and I had a 6 fight deal. I think it was 3 fights a year for 2 years. A 6 fight deal with Glory, and it was really really good. And uh, Jordan Watson was my first opponent. He beat me on
Mm.
points, and I believe that whole experience, especially the first fight, has shocked me because it's different than the average show that you've been to when there's intervals and there's breaks and there's like a hold up and you think you're ready for the fight, but then there's an auction is happening, and then before you know it, it's like 30 minutes different. So this one was on TV, so like bang, 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 bang. Every fight was just one after the other. And I still
Yep.
remember I was in the back rooms with Dave. Yeah, I want to get my hands wrapped because you've got to have these special people wrap your hands, I think, at the time. We got to wrap them in front of
Mm.
people. And then before you know, I still had my jeans on. They said, "Steve, you're on next." So I'm in London in the O2 Arena
Yep.
with Dave, just me and Dave, and Carlos, another close friend. Three of us, and we're in London, and they said, "You're on next." So I was in a rush. So unfortunately, my first experience on Glory was like rush downstairs, get out in the ring, and before you knew it, I was fighting Jordan Watson. It was crazy. So I think the second fight against Reese McAllister, who I spent time with in Thailand a few years back, I knocked him out in the 3rd round, and that was my chance to really redeem myself. And then after that, man, they gave me the hardest opponents: Andy Risty, Robin van Roosmalen, a Miraculorian I fought in China. I was
Yeah.
part of a glory show, and man, they were tough fights.
Oh man, it's like, well, like you said, they're like greats, of
Yeah,
the sport, and especially like I that period for myself in glory. I thought it like that's the best era. So for like I watch a little bit
yeah,
now, but I don't think it has the same kind of like competitive overall, and the actual the product itself is like really entertaining. Now it's like I
yeah.
don't know, it just doesn't seem as good as it used to be.
Glory now. So as I know from a personal level of the people that are putting money into, they all live in America. Although they love them Dutch guys, they live in America, and
Mm.
they're trying to make it so like, Americanized. Really, they got a couple of big Dutch guys, Rico Verhoeven and
Yep.
Badahari, and they're
Mm.
trying to promote some of these older guys and feed them a few opponents. But then there's lots of like just the young American guys that are fighting. It's great. It's a kickboxing show, but it's and it costs a lot more. They're paying a bit more
Yeah.
than a lot of the other Muay Thai shows and all that. So it's a good opportunity. But then you got someone like one championship from another perspective. The top guys get paid more money. For
Yep.
the lower guys, you could have 50, 60 fights and still getting paid peanuts.
Hmm.
And I know that for a fact. I've spoken to the likes of Josh Tonner, and because I've been around for so long, I can speak to fighters about these personal things. Which is, fighters don't talk about money, right? But I don't
Yep.
give a shit. I'm happy to ask. So hey, what's it worth? Because I'm thinking about speaking to them. You know what I mean? And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh shit. So like, it's got to be worth my while to like train and come back at an older age when I was reaching my 30s, early 30s, or even when I was nearly 30. It was
Mm.
pretty much the end of my career. But now what am I, 35 this year? But yeah, so the kickboxing shows have their top guys, and then there's a lot of lower people. But the Muay Thai shows, Lion Fight, Rebellion, Evolution doesn't happen anymore. That's fine. There's lots of really cool shows in Perth and Queensland. They don't really need to pay the fighters much.
Mm.
They're happy to fight, but not only the people are happy to fight until it's time to actually fight. I was happy to fight, punch on, let's do it. That's
Yeah.
why I racked up so many fights.
Hmm. Exactly. Well, it's yeah. I think like that's the topic that we want to touch on a little
Yeah,
bit later. Same thing. I just want to get all like your fight career because I really find it ultra interesting. So how was the experience of being on Kowloon Fight? Which like maybe
yeah,
the younger audience doesn't know, was it like a huge like
yeah,
kickboxing organization over there? Like and yeah, how did you find it? Like it's because it's all in China. How did you feel like negotiations went? How
yeah.
it was backstage? How you treated and like the fights itself?
Yeah. So there's one promoter that I met way back when. Uh, my very first fight in China was early on in my career, and I flew to China. I fought in a 4-man eliminator, full Muay Thai rules. Actually, even though I did kickboxing, that was my first go at full Thai rules. And I thought, so what? It's a great opportunity. Let's do it. I won my first fight. I beat up the guy. The second fight which was 24 hours later. The second fight, so it was over 2 days. This show.
Ah.
And I fought Kai Hollenbach, who at the time was a WMC like champ. He fought on Glory, did all that, and he beat me up over 5 rounds. He won on points, and that was good fun. So that promoter remembered me from way back then and contacted me for Kunlun, and I fought in China about 8 times. I had a multi-fight visa, a
Mm.
multi-pass visa,
Yep.
so I was able to enter China as much as I wanted over a 3-year period, rather than applying for a visa every time. I let them know that I said, "Hey, I've got a multi-pass visa. I've paid for it myself, but if you call me up, I can be on a plane tomorrow." Because that's the hard part of it. If you want to fight overseas, I fought in America, and there's a stack of paper you've got to do to get a visa. When you fight in China, you have to go and apply. It's $120, whatever it costs. Get a visa, and you get a one-pass visa, a multi-pass visa. So I was very attractive to the promoters that didn't have to worry if I was going to able to get a visa or not. I had it. I had my
Yep.
card. I could just walk in. I fought in Kunlun and WLF in China,
Mm.
and these shows were like so. It's crazy. It's like I was treated like a superstar. It was really cool. I fought out on an outdoor arena. Dub Rascal, I was on the same show actually. I think he fought Yotsun Klai. He fought
Wow.
Yotsun Klai, and I fought a really tough guy from maybe Russia or Denmark or somewhere. Um, and there would have been about over 20,000 people in the whole running track. They were just like seas of people. It was just the coolest
Wow.
experience. It was cool. So that was an outdoor arena, just like a marquee over the ring,
Hmm.
and they just love their martial arts over there. And because I fought there so often, I started to get like not known, but I was just like the promoters knew me. The promoters knew me. The fight scene knew me, and I fought over there lots. Being marketable is a great thing. I'm not a huge fan of like UFC being marketable for being a dickhead and swearing every second word. I'm not a fan of that. Being marketable for just fighting really hard, being entertaining for fighting, and being able to
Hmm.
interview, being able to smile, being able to speak to people. They love that in China. If you're quiet and
Yep.
say nothing, they don't really care. Um, yeah, that's a huge thing. Being able to market yourself for the right reasons.
Mm. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that when you photo, you let your actions speak more than your words.
Yeah,
It's like, and yeah, like I said, like I did really enjoy watching you, like back in the day, back on Foxtel and that one, because it's just always just knew I was going to Steve Moxon fight, and fuck, someone's gonna bleed. It's gonna be fun.
that's right. That's right. And I had a big understanding early on that if they're willing to fly me from Australia or to Europe or something or to America that's so far away, they're willing to spend all that money on me and pay me for the fight and accommodation for me and my coach or two cornermen on Glory,
Mm.
plus food money, get food money. They're willing to take that chance on me. I'm going to make sure I give them a good show.
Mm.
Even these Thai boxes, although it's Thai style and it's beautiful and whatever you want to say about Muay Thai, I feel like some people are just happy to, you kick me, I kick you. You kick me, I kick you. But if you want to stand out and get a chance on one championship, do something a bit more bloody exciting. Stand out from the crowd. There's lots of Muay Thai guys that have a six pack and a few tattoos. Be
Mm.
different. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why people say, "Oh, so hard, it's so hard to get recognised." It's not hard. We're a small country, and they want somebody from Australia to represent Australia. Hence, why they're still getting John Wayne Parr, who's old, fighting one championship because he markets himself in such a beautiful way that he's more than just a Thai boxer. He fights hard, win, lose, or draw. He smiles. He can speak. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like these young
Yeah.
guys should be taking a leaf out of these, like John Wayne Parr's book. I say 50 years old. He's not quite 50, but but yeah, you have to do something to stand out, right? You can't
Mm.
just be happy to bow at each other, touch gloves 100 times, throw a few body kicks, and wonder why you didn't win the fight.
Hmm.
You got to do something a bit more exciting. You want to stand out.
Of course, yeah.
I'm
I
trying
think
not to rant. I'm trying not to rant too much, but
us. I think some
that's
people
how
just come at me
passionate
for
I
it.
get about it. Yeah, that's how passionate I get about it because I
Mm.
understood it, man. Like, that's why I did what I did. You know. Uh,
Yeah, definitely. It's
yeah. So,
so if we talked about it a few times on here before, like just being able to market yourself, especially nowadays, like social media, it's too easy. You just like but some people use
yeah.
the platform like not to their like to build up their fight and just like platform to kind of voice other stuff from there. But like yeah, man, like as we talked to other people that's been on one champion, like Kieran Walsh with all his fighters, the same like they're looking here. They're champions. If you fight like Muay Thai, like, they're looking at you and they decide who they pick. And yet, like you said, it's like you got to do something a little bit extra to say like, well, why do I have to bring you guys? I have a pick of the litter here, so why do I have to pick you? Pick your kill. Yeah.
That's exactly right. You can do something. I went over to, I fought in Istanbul one time
Mm.
in Turkey. And while I was in Turkey, a guy that I met in Australia years prior messages me and says, "Oh, I hear you're in Turkey. How about you come over to Greece for a week and I'll look after you for a week?" While I was in Greece, I got in the ring at a fight show and called out Mike Zambides and said, "Mike Zambides is like my idol. Greece is
Yeah.
amazing. I want to fight Zambides one day, winner takes all this shit." 3 years later, I fought Mike Zambides in Athens for his retirement fight in front of 6 or 7,000 people. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't disrespectful. I went to another country and got in the ring and spoke, and all of a sudden they loved me because I was just
Mm.
myself and I was respectful and I stood out. All the while, I come back to Australia and won all of my next fights. Do you know what I mean? So you need a fight. So not only being cool and being good on social media, you just need a fight. You just need to fight and put on a show. Hopefully win more than you lose, but man, you got to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this saying that people want to fight these days to get a new Facebook profile picture.
Yep.
Want to fight these days to get the William Lou photo and put their cool posing photo up. So come on, man, you got to fight. Let's punch on. Let's fight. That's not enough just to have the new Facebook profile picture. You need to be a fighter. So this is where people want me to train them and do these things. I train a couple of guys, and I've got a really good young guy at the moment. But do you want to have a fight or do you want to be a fighter? Because if you want to have a fight, I actually don't want to waste my time. I'd rather sit on the couch with my son and my wife, to be honest with you, every night, or on a weekend, or on a Saturday night when the fight is, or the Friday night when I have to drive 90 minutes to stand on the scales. I'd rather be at home with my family. But if you want to be a fighter, let's talk. Now let's do it. No?
Exactly.
Do you want to be a fighter or do you want to have a fight?
Well, like, yeah, it's definitely not a part-time sport, especially when you got your brain cells on the line, you know.
Well, people are treating it like a part-time sport. People are just happy to have a fight. I've had a guy that won a fight, and then he goes, "Don't book me into the next fight because I got sore shins." I'm like, man, the next is a rebellion show. The next one's in like 3 months later. Like, I knew I've still got this book that I had when I first started fighting. By March, I already knew my next 5 fights, all lined, all negotiated. Had it written next to it how much money I was making, who I was fighting, where the fight was in this little book that I used to write in. I never pulled out of a fight. I said yes to all the fights and never pulled out of a fight. I was racking up 7, 8, 9 fights a year. And then later on in my career, I was racking up 7 to 8 fights a year, with 5 and 6 of them being international fights. That's why I made it. That's when I can call I made it my job.
Yes.
People identify as a fighter. I don't even identify as a fighter now. I identify as a father and a business owner. But people, if you want to identify as a fighter, you can't just fight twice on Rebellion each year and then call yourself a fighter. You need to be on it, traveling, sparring, fighting, staying in Thailand for a little while. Whatever you can do to make yourself a fighter, then you can call yourself a fighter.
Exactly. So just one more fight I want to go over, and like this is going off the fighter thing as well. Like, you know, obviously this is a question I was asked as well. It's like, you know, your fight with Bockout. So like, you know, for yourself, like, you know, got K1, you know, kickboxing career, like really haven't fought like, you know, full Thai rules much, you know, and then you go pretty much to the top of the list. Bockout at the time from there. Like, how did that, like, you know, that experience was like, obviously you would have got paid really well for it, but for yourself, like when they presented that to you, what was going through your head?
Here we go. This is gonna blow your effing mind. So you had that one fight in China, full Thai rules, whatever. I took that. It was fun. That was years ago. But this one with Borkow, I was in the middle of fighting the big shows all over the world. I don't know if I should say how much I was making every fight. But let's just say, for this fight against Borkow, they said, "Do you want to fight Borkow?" And I got married. My wedding was 3.5 weeks before that fight to my first wife, to my first wedding. Oh man, I drank as much alcohol as I wanted. I ate all the shit I wanted. So I had to bust my ass to make weight. The fight was in Paris. I got paid. You ready for this?
Yep.
$3,500.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Robbie Timmers, who organised this fight for me, and I kept messaging back and forth saying, "Listen, come on, man, I make quadruple that."
Yeah.
Do the maths. I make quadruple that for every single fight. I make quadruple that to fight at Moonee Valley Racecourse in Melbourne. Like on a Melbourne show, I was making proper money fighting 8, 9 times a year. I got offered $3,500. They said, "Look, Top King Fight Series, they're really tight. They're not going to do it." And I thought, you know what? I can live the rest of my life saying I fought Borkow and I fought in full Thai rules. They can't do that bullshit like, "Oh, you fought in kickboxing rules and blah, blah." I fought in full Muay Thai rules. Got elbowed a few times. It was fun. It was crazy. I wasn't fully prepared. I just got married 3 weeks before, and was having a bit of a bender for a weekend. But I had a really fun experience. If you've ever seen the fight, I remember By the end of the fight, the crowd was chanting my name and clapping because I got up about 5 times, kept getting kneed in the body. The referee, I'd love for people to watch it again. It was a really funny experience in front of thousands of people in France. The referee, we got into a grapple. The referee grabbed me and he poked me straight in the eye with the end of his finger. And I'm like, oh, my eye. And he says, fight. And I'm like, shit, Borkow's running at me. And I've just been poked in the eye. It was funny, but yeah, it was crazy.
Mm.
It was fun. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's making memories, isn't it?
We had to wear elbow pads in France. So
Yes.
in France, professionals have to wear elbow pads. And it was actually a hindrance on me because, one, I've got big biceps and I couldn't quite bring my arms, like, you know how I box like Tyson style? I couldn't bring my hands up. So my hands were like out here the whole time. So it was very easy for him to elbow. But in saying that, maybe it was good he had the elbow pads on me because he got me right there with a beautiful elbow. Probably would have sliced me open, but it didn't. It just like gave me this massive golf ball in my face. But yeah, so it was good and bad. But crazy experience. The worst show I've ever been on was Top King World Series. The worst.
Ah,
I was
okay.
the main event versus Borkow. I said, I just want you to organise me a sauna. They didn't organise the sauna. So I was running around the park in Paris at 3 a.m. before the weigh-in, so the morning weigh-in. The night of the fight, everybody had their name on the doors for a change room, except me. I had to share a room with a guy who beat me on Glory way back when. You know, and I was the main event against Borkow. It's just crazy. It was a Borkow show. It was all made for Borkow, and I was there just to, like, you know, get beaten up. But I put up a decent fight. It was fun. It was cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that is a crazy story. It's like
I got
just
paid peanuts, but hey, I can always say I fought Borkow.
not many people could say that. So yeah, definitely. You know, it's like sometimes I guess like you do it for the memories and experience, don't you? They'll last a lifetime.
I got some crazy stories, you know, and because I love kickboxing, I fought Andy Sauer on 7 days' notice, shoot boxing rules in Tokyo. You know what I mean? Like crazy. I lost 9 kilos in a week. I got a call on the Saturday. I said to Dave, I was with Dave on the week that when I got the phone call, said, hey Dave from Barbarian Muay Thai, do you want to come to Japan next week? We flew out on the Tuesday and we fought Andy Sauer, shoot boxing rules. It was fun.
That's it.
I would
Yeah,
have
you
loved
are
that
the finest
rematch.
fighter.
I would have
Yeah.
loved that rematch though. I would have loved that rematch with maybe 2 weeks' notice. But yeah, that rematch would have been fun with Andy Sauer because I really like his style, basic style. I understood early on. I wasn't intimidated by someone's highlight reel on YouTube. I wasn't intimidated by someone's record because I understood that if I stuck to my style, that will upset your style. If I run backwards like all your opponents do, you're going to use them like a punching bag, kick him, knee him, do a jumping knee, punch whatever you want, and knock him out. But if I stand there, stand my ground, which I always did, no one knocked me out. You know what I mean? Like I just always stood there, and I thought if I have my hands up, I should be right. If I keep my hands up, you're pretty right. You know. So I never got put to sleep ever in all my fights. I got injured or I got like TKO or I got rattled, but never did I ever go to sleep ever.
Nice, excellent. So let's go into like as you alluded to before, the second half of your career from there. So yeah, as you said, like, you know, it probably wasn't the favorite part of your careers and couldn't have done better. How about you tell us the story of like that part of your fight career?
Yeah, look, you know, being the young guy and having so many fights and I wasn't afraid of losing, so that didn't really worry me. I get it. When I had my first ever loss after 16 fights, I was like, cool, I've got things to work on. Let's get back at it. My second loss after that was probably about 25 fights in and whatever. But then I started getting, like, I never lost 2 fights in a row, but then I started losing 2 fights in a row and have another fight I win. I'll lose 2 fights in a row and then win. You know, look, I never made an excuse, so no one ever knew about it. And if you ever want to hear the full story, check out Steve Moxon's story on YouTube. That video was made by a very close friend of mine, and on Medved, and she makes videos. She made a really great story, and I opened up. But basically, it was more so I was going through a marriage breakup, unfortunately, and I was still saying yes to all these fights against really good opponents, and I was never saying no. And I was like, you know, I have a daughter with my ex, and I was paying for court, and then I was fighting, and then paying for court, and then so it was really silly on my behalf. But I was trying to hold on to something. Maybe I wanted to fight. I had great opportunities. I still had some fights on Glory at that time and fighting all over the world at that time. China, fought in Greece, fought in Istanbul, fought in America, But unfortunately, mentally, I just wasn't there. And that's all it comes down to. I could have prepared better. I could have been more mentally switched on. Unfortunately, I was going through a breakup and I was just trying to keep as level headed as I could to get in the ring and cut the weight and do what I had to do. As I got older, making weight at 70 kilos was really, really hard. I've always found it crazy. I'm about 5'8", 5'7.5", or 168 centimeters, 169 centimeters, and everyone was so tall to me. And they would walk into the weigh-ins like they were fine, and I'd walk in just drained. I was so drained, and I'm tiny, but I just carried a lot more weight and muscle on me, and I really struggled, and that become because of my preparation maybe, and leaving it all too late, and yeah, so that's why the second half of my career I started boxing, and I went 5 fights undefeated in boxing. Started to make a really good name for myself in boxing, but then when I got offered really good money to fight boxing against really good opponents, I just took it, and I was getting beat up, and it was just really unfortunate. But yeah, so that's on me. So look, it's a hard thing to say. Like Reese McAllister, the guy that I knocked out in Glory, that I spent time with in Thailand, he went through the same thing. And he had a fight, and he lost a fight he should have won. And I messaged him and said, "Hey man, just want you to know that hope you're well. I can see that things aren't going well. Keep your chin up, like." And sometimes people need to hear that from somebody that understands. Yeah, that's life. It's all good. I'm happy now. Life's crazy, but things are all meant to happen for a reason, I guess. And yeah, but unfortunately, that's how it happened. I was still fighting big fights, crazy good opponents, winning some, but probably losing more, or probably losing fights that I could have and should have won.
Yep.
But in saying that, realistically, out of 68 fights, I had maybe I think just less than 20 losses. So pretty good.
Good. Like you said, like the names though, the names are the big.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did fight everyone literally. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So just going from your experiences for your whole career from there, like you see, like you are training your own fighters there, and you're seeing the younger fellas coming through. What kind of advice do you like to give out to people starting in sport, and then they're starting to get a little bit better, and they maybe careers, go through their pro career? So is there kind of stages there where you give them different types of advice?
Yeah, there is. My first advice is, if you want to be a fighter, train hard, but training hard doesn't mean smashing your coach on the pads. Work on technique. A coach should be a coach. So I'm trying to change this now for a couple of the young guys. I didn't even want to be a coach for fighters, but I've got this kid this Japanese boy who is more skilled than I ever was. I believe he's just turned 21 last week. He's so amazing. He's only had one fight because again everyone keeps pulling out on him. It's so annoying. And I've made 3,000 phone calls and he's only had one fight. Like, it's a lot of work on a coach, so I get it. But I have a great gym of people that band together and help each other. My other coach, James Shingles, holds pads and he helps me out. So if he didn't help me out, I probably would have ended it with this other boy and said, "Listen, maybe you're better off going to another gym." But I love being a coach and a mentor. A coach isn't just someone that stands there with the tie pads on and gets smashed. You know what I mean? A coach is a mentor. A coach is somebody that takes you on that journey and is by your side on that journey. Smash the bag. That's what the boxing bag's for. I've got Fairtex bags in the gym. Smash them. You don't need to smash me on the pads. And these poor coaches, these poor Muay Thai coaches, I say, or fight coaches that are getting sore shoulders and sore elbows, it's because they line up and everybody just wants to smash the hell out of them for 3 to 5 rounds each. That's not cool. That's not cool. So I want to be a mentor and a coach. And I know that with my connections and the way I speak to promoters, the way I can approach these opportunities, I can get people more money. I was managing a few fighters way back when, and then before I moved to Geelong, and I can help people and help young fighters get to the next level. As a young fighter, you need to be saying yes, not second guessing. You need to maybe fight 2 kilos heavier or 2 kilos lighter. I'm sick of this shit where people are going, "I want to fight 67 kilos only." And like, well, whatever weight. That's not even a division. Give me a division. You want to fight 65 to 69 kilos? Because then I can get you a fight. You want to fight
Mm.
kickboxing rules or modified Muay Thai rules if you don't want to fight full Thai? Or you might have to fight Muay Thai rules and bash them anyway. You've got to get the fights up.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You can't be too picky. You can't research the guy on
Yes.
Facebook and say, oh shit, he has a few more tattoos than I do. I might lose this fight. I'm not going to fight. Or you can't catch a cold and say, shit, I can't fight because I got a cold. Man, I had a cold every single fight because I was cutting weight every fight. When you deplete your body, you often get sick because you're depleting your body, right? So
Mm.
I had a cold every single fight because I was sick every fight because I was depleted. You know what I mean? People are catching colds and pulling out. I can bet my balls. So there's Rebane Muay Thai's on tonight. Tonight, yeah, tonight. And I can bet my balls he had 10 pullouts this week. And he would have been on the phone all the way. I know it because I've been there. I've actually put on 6 fight shows myself.
Mm.
MMA and kickboxing and boxing. And Muay Thai, I've had WKA titles on there and everything. But I've had my main event pull out 3 days before, and you're
Ugh.
scrambling. So it's such a hard gig. So great job to these promoters. You're crazy. It's awesome giving these kids the opportunity. Man, it's hard work. And these fighters that want to call themselves fighters, and it annoys me because in Victoria, you're only a fighter when you sign up to the. You're a fight. You're professional because you have to sign up to the Victorian Combat Sports Board. So they think they're professional.
Mm.
When you're not professional. You just happen to be fighting on them. But in Sydney, they still do amateur and pro, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different in Victoria. They think they're pro because they're fighting somebody else that's signed up to the sports board and they think they're pro. So it's a hard thing. I feel like you can only call yourself pro when you're fighting the likes of Jordan Tai. And by that time, I already had 20 fights. You know what I mean? So I don't think that early on in my career, although it counts as my career record, I don't think it's pro as such. In Holland,
Mm-hmm.
in Holland, they're also, I realized why they're all so good and so hungry is because you're not allowed. So they're in Holland and in throughout Europe, there's C class, B class, and A class. When you're A class, you get paid. When you're B class, you take off the shin guards and you fight, I think, longer rounds or something. When you're uh, C class, it's shin guards and whatever. But you can only get to B class if you have 10 fights. And you can only
Mm.
get to A class if you've had over 20 fight. And so people are so hungry and they're fighting every week they can because they want to get paid, even if it's only a couple $100. That's why they're so damn good. I've trained with them and fought all the top Dutch guys, and that's why they're good. They're just so hungry and they want to be a fighter. They understand what it is to be a fighter. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to be nice about it, but that's what people need to realize these days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Dutch system's not too bad. And like yeah, it's like Victoria's there. It seems a bit different there, where you so I guess you got those kind of like the VAMAs and things like that for like
Yeah,
a bit of an amateur. Yeah, and then but then you can go
which
to
is only new. It wasn't around. That's only been around last year.
mm,
Yeah, if somebody asks you to be on the show, or why would I fight on Vama when I can fight on Rebellion and get the free shorts and a win loot photo and $300? Of course, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Like, but then if they shit themselves, they pull out, and unfortunately, I guarantee it happens to Sai a lot.
yeah.
I love the Rebellion show. I think it's awesome. I think it's great for these fighters to have fights, but they need to be there to fight all the time and not pull out. So I guarantee I chat to Sai a lot, and I guarantee he's had people pull out all week, and it's the worst. It's the worst. But yeah, he's awesome.
Oh yeah, like imagine like if you had any hair, you'd be pulling it out. But but like yeah, so going from there, like you said, you manage fighters as well and do a lot of negotiation stuff. Like, what's some things for like guys that are probably just starting off as pros or like going into a pros career that might not have managers and their coaches doing like a lot of coaches aren't kind of trained to do that unless they have a lot of experience. Is there some sort of pitfalls like dealing with promotions and kind of knowing your worth and also basically building your brand?
Your worth, but not. Yeah, that's right. Knowing your worth is you might need to be happy to fight for peanuts.
Mm.
A lot of promotions still, and maybe you wouldn't get paid for your first few fights, but then the whole of you sell tickets, you get paid. Once I realised that, hang on, I can fight. They're still going to pay me. I don't need to run around to my mates and get $10 a ticket. because that's how people think they need to do it, and then they're stressed chasing their friends for tickets. I
Mm.
never did that. I just concentrated on the fight. I'd rather take a little bit less money from the promoter and say I'm not dealing tickets. I'd rather take, give me this much. I won't sell tickets, but I guarantee all these people will come. The trainers, if they're not experienced as managers, they should be, because if their gym is based on having fighters being amateur, and then as they get better and better, they need to learn these things. Um, the likes of Kieran Walsh from Canberra, more you, he wouldn't have known at the start, but I guarantee he would have learned over time, and he took it upon himself to learn over time, or speak to the right people like I did. I networked and right people. I've got a great friend now who lives in Singapore, and I was the best man in his wedding just before the world shut down 2 years ago. And he would help me write emails. I didn't even know how to email people, and speak correctly and use the right language. He helped me do all that stuff, but now I'm cool with all of it. But asking the right people and surrounding yourself by the right people with the right people, because if you want to take your career to the next level, fighting is only half of the problem, half of the battle. You need to be able to market yourself. You need to be able to write emails. You need to be able to negotiate. You need to be able to do interviews. When they say, "How do you feel tonight?" you can't say "good" and stand there. You got to elaborate and talk and smile and know about the place that you're fighting in, or whatever it be. Give a reference. There's things like that take you to the next level as a professional. Turn up to the press conference dressed smart, not necessarily Melbourne or in a local show. I get it, but be professional. Have all of your team wearing the team shirts. You know what I mean? Not just rocking up in your thongs and a singlet. It's all these
Mm.
little things I think that count to make you a professional, a true professional. And the coaches, I get it. The coaches should be studying or learning this if they wish to take their fights to the next level. Like my original coach, he's like a lot of other coaches, really good coach until you get to like half a dozen fights. And then what? He can't teach you much more. He might be able to teach you how to punch better or kick better, but where can you take your career beyond 6 fights? Some coaches are really up until 15 fights. Then where do they take it from there? So if you want to get recognized on one, but your coach is just a local dude who has no idea about or the contacts about or who to contact about, if he has no idea, you need to go find that, because they're not going to get you there miraculously. No one gives a shit that you're fighting on the local show. You need to get yourself in front of the people that know what they're talking about to get you on the big shows. Man, I'm passionate about it, but I'm like, I can just keep on going. But I love it. But yeah, there's more than just fighting.
Yeah, it's like the whole, I guess, combat sports industry is like its own ecosystem. Just not just from fighters to management to promotions. So just going a little bit on promotions from there, because predominantly, like as you fought from there, kickboxing and K1, there doesn't seem to be much of that scene anymore. Like you had that big time. K1 was huge, and so was Glory. Now it seems to be like more the Muay Thai type of scene. Do you reckon there could be a resurgence in the kickboxing, like people like Prince and Peter Haddon in the Alpha Fight series before? Do you reckon there could
Yeah.
be time for it to come back?
No, there won't be.
Hmm.
No, there won't be, because they're going to be as big as their local town will let them be. That's it. No one else is going to watch them. They're not going to make a name for themselves. They say they're putting on a show, then they stop the show, and they pull out, and then they do dodgy shit in the background, and their show fails, and they're trying to be too big, or like they're not building it up. How many times have these promoters told me they're putting on a show or put up a post on Facebook? The show doesn't happen. So the only way you can be trusted is if you're the person that does the shit you say you're gonna do. You know,
Mm.
that like this boy that I'm managing or coaching, I'd say I'm managing. I've made 3,000 phone calls and he still only had one fight in the past few years. Like they couldn't match him on the last show, and then this one says I'm going to put on a show, and that show doesn't happen. There's a show on in 3.5 weeks, and they said I'm going to get him on. I'll get him on. I spoke to him an hour ago. Matchup. It's like, well, what should I do? Do I bother even coaching this boy and be honest with him, or do I string him along and then say, "Oh, sorry, no fight again. Sorry, no fight again." It's a really hard thing. Or should he say, "Listen, I'll fight for maybe less money. I'll fight on Muay Thai. I'll fight this guy who's really good at Muay Thai, and I'll fight him his rules, whatever, and I'll beat him anyway. So I think he's capable. It's a really, really, really hard thing to build a name for yourself these days and fight regularly. It's possible. It's all possible. You know, Josh Tonner had like 60 odd fights. You know, he's done it. He's stuck with it and done it. I love watching him. And he was at a point where he was losing a bunch of fights, and he was fighting 58 kilos and losing, but he's stuck with it. And then he's winning, and then he's winning, then he's winning, and that's why he's just getting better and better. And he's starting to understand it more. You know, and putting on a performance, because there's Muay Thai and then there's a fight. And he's understanding that you got to still be a fighter, and you're still being paid to entertain the crowd. I don't care how beautiful you think Muay Thai is. You're still being paid like a circus animal to go and perform. And that's the reality of a fighter. If you can deal with that and understand that, and go out there on a show for the crowd, then you can say I want more money. Then you can say I want more fights. Then you can ask for free tickets for your family. Then, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to fight. That's all it comes down to. You want to be a fighter, you got to fight.
Exactly. So, like, on that kind of vein that we've just been talking about there, was there anything else that we didn't kind of cover that you want to cover on that topic?
No, man, look, you know, you can't be too picky. If you're a beginner, you could be fighting the next walkout, but you don't know that. You've only had 3 or 4 fights each. What makes you better? Because you've had 20 fights and I've only had 8 fights. Yeah, you've got a bit more experience, but I want to prove myself. But too many people are saying, oh no, I don't want to fight them because they got black hair. I'm only going to fight people with blonde hair. Oh, I'm not going to fight him. He's got too many tattoos. Oh no, he's too tall. I'm like, man, he's a southpaw and I only want to fight all the dogs. You can't be too picky. I want to fight at 65 kilo. I've got to fight for you at 68. No, I don't want to take that fight. It's like, man, like, you want to fight? You got to, you know, just fight. Shut up and fight. Then we can talk once you've had 30 fights, you know? So, yeah, that's how passionate I get about it. And I hope these young people listening understand that they just got to fight. You could be fighting the next world champion. That's the gamble. You don't know. But if they're similar experience-wise, get in there and fight. Once you're over 10 fights, I believe once you're over 10 fights, you should be open to fighting anybody. Cool, if you've had 2 fights and there's a guy with 15 fights, not an idea. If I've had 10, you've had 20, let's get it on. If I've had 11 and you've had 50, let's get it on. Just get in there and fight.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Nice, excellent, cool. All right, and I think that'll conclude us for today. That one, because my internet is going really bad. It's going to get it out.
I can keep going. I'm quite passionate about it. Like I said, I don't train too many fighters or anything. I don't have a fight gym as such. I got a fitness gym with a couple of fighters in there, a couple of guys that are interested, young guys.
Yep.
And I'm cool. It's cool because it's all good and fun. But I'm really passionate about these guys that want to call themselves fighters. Just get out there and give it a red hot go, and then punch on with whoever they put in front of you. And that's how you're going to build your name.
Yeah, that's right. Because Stone Cold Steve Moxon said so. Awesome, man. So, look, I really appreciate your time today. That was a great talk. Got a lot out of it. What's your Instagram handles? Where can they find you? Your gym? Yeah.
Firstly, if you want to see some cool shit happening, check out the Training Room Geelong on Instagram or Facebook. My wife Lena, she's awesome. She's constantly doing updates and videos and cool reels. We always have new things going on and workshops. So check out the Training Room Geelong on Instagram and Facebook. And then my personal Stone Cold Steve Moxon on Facebook and Instagram as well. And yeah, check out what we do. It's definitely different than the typical gym. I say it's a fitness gym, but it's we have a couple guys and they're doing some cool stuff as well. And all round fitness and fight gym, I guess you'd want to call it.
Awesome, great, cool. Just stick on the line for a bit while I just do the outro part from there. And look, guys, like, subscribe the episode, follow us on Instagram. You know the thing from there. Yeah, follow our boy Steve Moxon and the Training Room. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. Peace.